Sorry, I got disconnected for a second, but I'm back. So let's see who all are there so far. Let me rename myself. This is Ram from Mathus Academy. I see Bimal, Lohit, Akshit, Mayuresh, Meena, Sonika, Sunil, Sunita, Vani, Anu, and Naren. All right. I'm sure others will be joining, but we can get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, great. So after the this webinar is over, I can email you the presentation as well as the recording. I think many of you registered, but I don't know who's who and who joined. So if you don't mind, if you go to the chat and in the chat, it will let you select either everyone or just any one name. You can select my name. And so that will be a private chat. If you can type your email address and your child's name and grade. The grade will also help me in terms of giving you an idea of who are there in the webinar, so I can customize the talk accordingly. So in the private chat, feel free to enter your email, your name, your child's name, and the grade.
So, are you Ram, the host, right?
I am Ram. Yes, that's right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you just select Ram from the drop down, and you can Ram or Mathus Academy. I think it will say one of those. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the SAT ACT webinar. So I will walk through the first part of the presentation will be on the SAT itself and how is it structured, how is the scoring done, etc. And then the second half of the presentation will be on more SAT and ACT course, online courses. And I'll pause between the slides. So feel free to ask me questions as between any slides. I'll pause and I'll ask if anybody has questions. So you don't need to wait until the end. You can ask questions anytime. I muted everyone for now, just to minimize any distractions. You can ask questions anytime by either typing into the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat, or you can unmute yourself at the time and directly ask. That's fine too. Because this is not too large a group, about 14 of them. I've done webinars with hundreds of people. That will be a little bit hard to handle in the middle, but I think this is small enough group, so you can ask questions anytime. You don't need to wait until the end. All right, with that, let's get started. I said a quick introduction. My name is Ram Yeleti. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I happen to be the founder of Mathus Academy, and I'm very passionate about this field. I'm like probably many of you came from an IT software background, but I I've studied the system here, and I love interacting with the kids and making a difference for them. So Outside of SAT and ACT, you can feel free to ask me any questions related to college admission or uh, any general questions about education. Um, okay, moving on. So agenda wise, because looks like all of you are uh, new to Maths Academy, I'll give a very brief 1 minute introduction about what is Maths Academy, and I'll jump right into what are SAT and ACT, how are they structured, what subjects, how is it scored, how do they use the scores and all that. That is the first half of the presentation, and the second half is more on our courses. What is the coaching methodology? Who are the coaches? What do we cover in the classes? What are the homeworks? Uh, the schedules, fees, and any other. And then, as I said, feel free to ask any questions. So with that, so Mathis Academy started in 2011 in Atlanta, Georgia. We're an online educational academy. We when we started, we used to have on-site presence in Atlanta as well, only in Atlanta on-site. But with the pandemic, we converted everything to online. So we're on 100% online now. But online has always been our bigger mode. Uh, so now it's the only mode. We believe that every child is endowed with an abundance of potential, and our mission is to help bring the best out of every child. So we do actually do a lot of activities. I know today you are mainly here to hear about SAT and ACT, so that's where I will spend most of the time. But in terms of just the courses, we cover uh, for all the way from elementary, middle to high school. We do math, critical thinking math, school math, English, science, coding, um, spelling, vocabulary, so on. We cover K-12, any subjects. Um, and we also do many other activities. We conduct webinars like this, educational or informational webinars in different subject areas, um, and just providing information for parents to help make informed decisions. Um, we also work with many non-profit and in educational field, um, with like-minded folks to help them, doing different the math competitions or SAT or ACT, etc. So that's what we are and what we do. So let me get straight into SAT. Uh, Probably some of these you already know. I'll just add more context to it. Uh, so I'll start with SAT first, and then I'll go to ACT. I know some of you are interested in SAT, some are in ACT. I'll talk about both. I'll also talk about the differences, and maybe you have questions on whether your student should take SAT or ACT or both. We'll talk about those as well. So as you know, SAT is a standardized uh, test primarily conducted for college admission purpose by an organization known as College Board. If you have high school students, probably you heard about AP exams, advanced placement courses and exams. They are also uh, conducted by the same organization. Um, so College Board is the same organization that conducts both SAT and AP courses and AP exams. Uh, it's a non-profit organization based in New Jersey, and the once the scores are, their customers are basically the universities. Well, we're all their customers by taking the test, but really uh, the scores go to the universities and colleges to make a decision on college admission purpose. So that's all that they do. Uh, Now, AP courses, I'm not going to talk much about it, but if you need anything related to AP courses or SAT subject tests, you can leave our number where you can text us or email. You can send further inquiries related to that if you have any questions. So what are the subject areas that are covered in SAT? So SAT comprises of math and English. Within English, there is a reading section called evidence-based reading and writing section called writing and language. Now, the writing in core SAT is not really, there is no writing actually involved. So the essay, as I said, in the next point is essay is a separate optional test, optional section. I'll come to that. But the actual writing that is there in the as part of English reading and writing is more grammar type. They give sometimes they give a passage and you have to correct the passage or correct a line or identify the grammar elements, etc. So and uh, the reading and writing are completely multiple choice questions. So there is actually no writing itself. Math is also mostly multiple choice. There are a few questions what are known as grading questions, uh, where the student has to actually, they don't, it's not like fill in the blank. You don't write the number, they have to bubble the number. And the essay, what do we mean by an optional essay? So while registering for SAT, you could select whether you would want to take SAT, essay or not. And it is up to the colleges on whether they require the score, the essay score or not. So everybody needs to write the basic, the core math and English, that is reading, writing, and math. But the essay, you can decide whether to write it or not. My recommendation is to actually take essay as well. The reason being, some universities require it, some don't require it. In fact, within the same university, some may require it for certain majors and not some other majors. So because the college admission, whole college admission process itself is a complex one, and that is usually done in the senior year, right, of the high school. You may not know exactly which colleges and which majors you are applying. So it is better to uh, write it just in case, because typically, it is recommended to apply for at least 6 to 8 colleges. And even if one of them require the essay, you would still need it. Does somebody have a question? Vandita, I think you just joined. I'm going to mute you. If you have any questions, you can unmute at the time and ask. Okay, anyone has any question on the subject areas for the SAT? I'll talk about how the scoring is done. I think it is in the next slide. For those of you joined later, uh, if you would like to get a copy of this presentation and the link to recording, please enter your email address, your name, your child's name and grade in the chat. So in the chat, you can actually select a private. You can select uh, RAM or Maths Academy from the drop down, and or you can just put it in regular one. That's fine. So just enter your email address, your child's name and grade, and I will email this presentation as well as a link to recording. The grade will also help me kind of see which grade kids are there and accordingly tailor the presentation. Okay, so how is the scoring done? So SAT has a max score of 1600. I'm sure you all would have heard about it. If you have been following for a long time, it used to be 2400 until 2016. So math has a max score of 800. Reading and writing combined has 800. Before 2016, reading and writing were separate sections. They're still separate section now, but they used to have separate scores of 800 each. So that's how it is a total of 2400. Now, in 2016, College Board restructured the SAT exam, and then so reading and writing are combined into a single section of 800. And essay, being optional, is graded separately. So that is not part of the 1600 score. So the essay score is total of 24 on 3 different parameters. So it is 8 plus 8 plus 8. And it is the only section, essay is the only section which is graded by human beings, actually anonymous English teachers. Two anonymous English teachers grade every single essay, and then they add the scores. So there will be 4 for each of the parameters. So the total of 8 on each one total, and between the three sections, three criteria, it's 24. That's how it comes. But math, reading, and writing, the core SAT is completely graded by machines. No human being ever sees. Once the paper is collected, they get scanned, and they get they're all bubbles, whether it is multiple choice or even graded questions. That's why they don't let you write the number. You have to grid the actual number, each digit or a fraction or decimal. So machines automatically grade it.
Hi, Ram. Is it okay if I interrupt you, or should we save the questions till the end?
No, you can ask anytime. Can I? I know your. It says iPhone. May I know who is this?
Oh, I'm Anu Kasani.
Hi, Anu. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. I was wondering, what do they mean by essay optional? Um, and I also hear people talk the scores for 1600 only, generally, right? How much they scored out of 1600. But essay optional, I think I missed, if you have already discussed, but the optional part is a little confusing to me.
Um, so yeah, I just addressed, but I'll address it again.
I'm
So
so
yeah, no
I'm
worries. So most college, well, so some colleges require the essay, some colleges do not require the essay. And even within one college, it may be required for certain majors, but not some other majors when you apply for the college. So that's why college board makes it optional. The student, if they know in advance which all colleges that they're applying and none of them require essay, they don't need to even write the essay. So while applying, so for SAT, right, we actually have to go to college board website and directly apply. While applying, it gives an option whether you want to write essay or not.
okay.
Now, my recommendation is generally to write the essay, just because you generally don't know all the colleges that you would apply for. I know you're a parent. I'm saying you. I'm talking from the student viewpoint. Uh,
Mhm.
that the students don't necessarily know every single college that they may apply in their senior year, right? So typically, you write the SAT before the senior year, but the college application is during the senior year. That's
Correct.
that's when you shortlist the colleges, etc. So it is generally recommended to write, just because even if one of the colleges that you want to apply at that time requires essay, it is too late to get that score at that time.
Okay. Okay.
But
Thank you.
yeah, but no, if somebody is 100% sure which colleges he is applying, he or she is applying, and they don't need a essay, then they can choose not to write it. But that's probably not a recommended approach.
Okay. Thank you, Ram. And sorry to make you repeat this for me.
No,
I'll
no,
be more.
no worries at all. No worries at all. It's probably it's that question often comes, so it's good to repeat that one. Anyone
Okay.
else? Manjula, do you have a question? Nope. Okay, you probably just joined. So I'm going to mute everyone. Unless if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. And for I see a couple of you joined late. For those who joined late, uh, I can send this presentation and a link to the webinar after the webinar is over. If you can go to the chat and select in the drop down, by default will be everyone. Select Ram or Maths Academy and type your name, your email address name, and your child's grade and name. I'll email the presentation and the link to the recording later on. Um, and also the grade will help me kind of uh, customize the presentation. So you can, the student 11th graders, 10th graders, 9th graders, sometimes even a 7th or 8th graders take it for the purpose of uh, certain talent identification programs, or so some parents probably just want to listen in, or to how to make sure their kids are ready when they go to high school, etc. So feel free to use those information. Any other questions on the SAT scoring? There is another aspect I will cover next, because So let's look at the actual structure. So SAT will have 4 sections excluding the essay. So including essay, it will be 5 sections. So, and they always come in this order. The first one is always reading. And reading will have 52 questions and 65 minutes, so a little bit over 1 minute per question. And writing and language has 44 questions and 35 minutes, so a little bit less than a minute per question. I'll come back to why that's the case. So math has 2 sections, one without calculator. Section 3 is always without the calculator, 20 questions and 25 minutes. And the one with calculator, section 4, is 38 questions and 55 minutes. So all math is a little bit over 1 minute per question. And then we have the optional essay, which has a 50 minutes. A total of 154 questions plus essay, and a total of 3 hours and 50 minutes, including the essay. But the actual test will be longer than this, because between sections, the kids will be given breaks. So including the breaks, and there'll be some buffer time at the beginning. Actually, so the test is always on a Saturday morning. So the student will be asked to report at the center by 8 a.m. and then they'll be ushered in. They'll go to their rooms. They settle down. All the rules will be announced by the proctor, and the test usually starts around 9 a.m. So it doesn't have to exactly start at a particular minute, because each section is timed separately. So a particular proctor might start at 8:55, another might start at 9:05. It doesn't matter. Each section is timed, and you cannot go back after finish a section. So you have to go in that order. So finish 65 minutes reading, right? And then there could be a short break, and then you go to the next section and so on. Now, as you can see, this is not just a test of your intelligence or even preparation. It is also a test of endurance. It's almost 4.5 5 hours kids sit into the in the room, and so it is highly recommended that the students take ample rest the previous night. I would say previous 2 nights, right? Sleep early, because all the preparation you got to do before that, right? There's really last minute cramming is not going to make a huge difference. In fact, it could be counterproductive by increasing anxiety and getting tired. The last thing that you want the student to go to the test and get tired or sleepy in the middle of the test, right? Because it's a long test. So make sure the kids take ample rest and have sleep the previous 2 days, previous 2 nights, and make sure they take water, snacks they're allowed, they can consume between the breaks. Make sure then they go in a good mindset, and make sure they know what the test is, how the test looks like, how to, because anxiety reduces the performance. So in our courses, one of our goals is to not just teach the subject areas, but also make them aware how exactly the test looks like. They will take several practice tests throughout the course, with tips and strategies. Those are as important as the subject knowledge itself, uh, so that when they go, the anxiety is minimized because they know what to expect. Uh, the questions, obviously, they don't know the questions, but apart from that, they know everything else. So the less anxious they are, the better they will do, and go with a good rest and carry snacks and water. Any questions before progress? Oh, I said I'm going to address why uh, the time given in different sections is different per question. So in reading, by the way, by far reading is considered the toughest of all the sections in SAT. So the reason is, first of all, these passages are college level essays, college level passages, and first the kids need to read the passage, understand, and then go to the questions, read the question, and go back and answer. So some questions they can answer right away after reading the question, because those questions could be like a main idea kind of question. Some could be a question at a particular line number. So they need to go back, read that line, not just that line, actually, a couple of lines above, a couple of lines below to get the context. And so that requires more time. And typically, kids will struggle more time on reading, or to some extent than math than writing, because writing, although there's less time per question, writing also is more straightforward. So it's typically testing the grammar, right, by asking certain questions to be corrected or certain passages to be corrected, etc. So it's more straightforward. That's why there's a little bit less time per question, but generally writing is not considered the hardest one. Reading and math, depending on the student, could be the tougher ones. Any questions? Somebody has a question? Okay. So now, how does College Board comes with the score on 1600 or 800 math, 800 English, while the number of questions, if you can see, they're not 800 questions, right? They're not even not even multiples of that, right? So how do they come up with 800? So the 800 in math or 800 in reading and plus writing is not an absolute score. It is actually a relative score, relative to all of the students who took the test during that particular test date. So they don't compare between two different test dates, but within one test date, they compare across all the students. So what they do is in math, for example, you have 20 plus 38, total 58 questions between section 3 and 4. So if you get a perfect score of 58 out of 58, so they look at the percentile. Percentile is basically the number of students who are ahead of you divided by the total students as a percentage. So that's called percentile. So typically the median meaning the middle line here is generally the median. It doesn't have to be exactly 500. It can vary from test to test, but generally it will be around 500. So 50% of the students got more score than you and 50% less than you. So if you got something around 500, means you are around 50 percentile. Now, and that could be number of questions for that 50 percentile can vary from test to test. Out of the 58, it could be 30, it could be 20, it could be 35, depending on the test. So College Board never publishes that part. They only publish your relative score on a scale of 200 to 800. The lowest is actually 200, not 0. So if you got everything wrong, which doesn't happen, but if the minimum possible is 200, the maximum is 800. And if you get 58 out of 58, you're likely to be 800. In certain tests, even a 57 could be still 800, because it's a top percentile, right? If it's a tough test and nobody got 58, you might still be in a perfect score, even if you got a question less, right? But it's also possible in certain tests, for every drop in 1 point, you might drop by 10, 20, 30 points on the relative score, depending on, again, how tough it is. They do this for math separately. They do this for reading and writing separately. So that's how the total 1600 or 800 in each subject is determined. Any questions? Okay, great. So I'll briefly talk about PSAT because that question often comes up. So there are actually two types of PSAT. That is another reason for this is usually a topic of some confusion. One, high school students typically write PSAT at their high schools. So unlike SAT, you cannot go to College Board website and apply for PSAT directly. It can only be taken through the school. And uh, most high schools conduct it for 10th and 11th graders. Some high schools even do it for 9th graders. It depends on the school. And this part, so what are the two PSATs? The ones the high schools conduct is actually PSAT, just called PSAT, or sometimes called PSAT 10, 11. As opposed to the one on the right side, PSAT 8, 9. This is meant for younger students, PSAT 8, 9, 8th or 9th grade. But the one high school students take at high school is just PSAT. And that one is pretty much same as SAT. There's not much difference. It is the same syllabus, same topics, same level of difficulty. The only difference is it is slightly shorter test. So instead of 800, you will have 760 in math and 760 in reading plus writing, and there is no essay. So total of 1520 instead of 1600. But the syllabus is exactly the same. There is another significance for PSAT that in the 11th grade, the PSAT taken in the 11th grade, and typically it's always in the month of October. With pandemic, sometimes it may slightly be differing in certain schools this year, but generally in October, and they try to maintain that the same period. And the 11th grade PSAT also has a significance for scholarship purposes called National Merit Scholarship. So that's why it's called NMSQT as well, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. And depending on the score, certain scholarships are awarded. So even there are many others. So this is a centralized organization for scholarships. But there are many scholarships which are based on SAT itself, because in this country, scholarships again is a very complex topic, right? Most scholarships are what are known as need-based scholarships. So it is based on the parent's income or the family income. If it is beyond a certain amount, you won't get the need-based scholarship. So many of you may not qualify for the need-based scholarships. However, there are many other merit scholarships. And NMSQT is one of them, or NMS, National Merit Scholarship, is one of them. But there are many other private scholarships, public as well as private scholarships, as well as certain university-specific scholarships, which are merit-based. And many of them have SAT as a criteria, SAT or ACT as a criteria. That question often comes up. So that is another reason why you would want to get a good score in SAT or ACT. Now, what is PSAT 8-9? So the original PSAT, right, on the left side, in yellow, there are two purposes for it. One is as a preparation for actual SAT conducted at high schools. And for the 11th grade one also has additional significance for scholarship. The PSAT 8-9, on the other hand, its purpose is again practice for 8th, 9th grade kids, younger kids. But it is also used by certain organizations, certain universities for talent identification, such as Duke or Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore has a program called CTY, Center for Talented Youth, etc. So it is used by for those purposes, and even certain private schools for high school admission purposes, magnet schools or high schools may use it. If it is in your area, you will know it. Now the PSAT 8-9, unlike the other PSAT, is slightly easier than SAT. So some of the harder topics are not in syllabus, and it is even shorter than PSAT. So if you have to summarize PSAT and PSAT 8-9, the PSAT or the PSAT 10-11 on the left side it is exactly same as SAT, except that it's slightly shorter and no essay. The one on the right, the PSAT 89, is actually not only even shorter, it's actually easier in the sense some of the harder topics and tougher questions are taken out because it's meant for younger kids. And it may be, so those are the differences. But so if you're looking for regular PSAT, if you have a 10th, 11th grader, or even a 9th grader, many high schools do the regular PSAT, then we don't, I recommend that if you're looking for a course, attend the regular SAT course itself. So we do not offer the PSAT score, the PSAT as a course, the longer PSAT, because that syllabus is exactly same as SAT, the text structure, everything is same, except it's slightly shorter. PSAT 8-9 on the other hand, we do offer mainly for Duke Tip, etc. for 5th, 6th graders. Because I'll come back to this now. The Duke Tip and Johns Hopkins in a second. I think one of you asked a question and was had a question on the chat that she's interested in Duke Tip as well. Yeah. So Duke Tip for 5th and 6th graders, actually they have to take PSAT 8-9. Duke Tip are Johns Hopkins CTY there, and there's another Northwestern University in Chicago. They have also similar program. All of them, for 7th and 8th graders, you have to take SAT or ACT itself. These are above grade tests. But 5th or 6th graders have to take PSAT 8-9. And I covered quite a bit on this slide. Any questions? Any other questions related to SAT, PSAT, or PSAT 8-9? I have one more slide on this, on how the test looks like, then the scoring looks like for PSAT. So I've summarized both of their structure here. So they have the same subject areas, reading, and they go in the same order: reading first, then writing in language, math without calculator, and math with calculator. So the PSAT 10-11 are NMSQT. As you can see, slightly fewer questions, 47 questions in reading instead of 52, and 60 minutes. Writing and language actually has same number of questions as SAT, 44 and 35. Math without calculator is 17 out of 25 minutes. Instead of 20, that's 17 questions. And the math with calculator is 31 instead of 38. So slightly shorter and hence slightly lesser time. No essay in both of them. The PSAT 8-9, as you can see, is even shorter. 42 questions, 55 minutes. 40 questions, 30 minutes. Math without calculator, 13 questions, 20 minutes. And math with calculator, 25 questions, 40 minutes. So it's even a little bit shorter, 2 hours and 25 minutes total for 120 questions. So just to repeat again, if your child is going to take the PSAT, especially those who are in 10th grade or in 9th grade, they will take PSAT next October, right? This 2021 October, but next academic year, right after the summer is over. And for that preparation, if you are attending our SAT course, your PSAT is taken care because it follows the same format, same syllabus, everything similar. So you don't need a separate PSAT. If you have a 5th or 6th grader, and if you want to do Tip or Johns Hopkins CTY, and you want PSAT 8-9, for that we have a separate course. But for regular PSAT, we don't offer a separate course because that is same as SAT. Any questions? So now let's go through ACT. So ACT has, in terms of the subject areas, it is similar except that it also has science. So there's math, science, reading, and what ACT calls English, which is equal to the writing and language section. SAT is called English section ACT, but they're similar. ACT scoring is on a different scale though. So it is also relative scoring similar to SAT, but they give a max of 36 on each subject area. 36 in math, 36 in science, 36 in reading, 36 in English or writing. And your max score is the average of the 436, average of the four subject. It is not the sum. Unlike in SAT, where you had 800 plus 800, here it is average of the four. So the max is 36 across all subjects also. So that's why you might hear somebody saying that I got a 32, I got a 35, I got a 28, I got a 21 or whatever, right? In ACT. In SAT, typically hear out of 1600. Now, ACT also has essay that is optional. So that way it's similar to SAT. It is graded on a scale of 12, but it's similar. Right? Again, this is the only one manually graded. Everything else is automatically graded by machines. Any questions on ACT?
Is there any preference between SAT and ACT? I heard I came across somebody who did ACT perfect score and got a good college admission too. Are there any trade-offs, Ram?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So what is the difference between SAT and ACT, and how does one decide which one to take? So first thing is that colleges do not differentiate between the two. So they both are totally fine. And every college, if you go to their college admission website, they will give you the median SAT or ACT score of the students who joined that particular college. So they don't, colleges are fine with either one of them. Now, so it's really up to the student. And some students tend to do well in SAT, some tend to do well in ACT. So what are the differences? There are two main differences. Actually, let me cover the next slide. It will become a little bit easier to explain one of the key differences. So I talked about SAT sections and score earlier. Right, let's look at ACT. So ACT also has 4 sections. English are equal to writing and language. Right? That is the first one. And it always comes in this order for ACT. 75 questions and 45 minutes. Math, there is only one section, 60 questions and 60 minutes. Reading, 40 questions and 35 minutes. Science, 40 questions and 35 minutes. Essay, 40 minutes. So it is similar length, 33 hours and 35 minutes, slightly lesser time. This is excluding the break, similar to SAT. With break, it will be 4.5, 5 hours, similar to SAT. So one thing, if you notice, is the time per question across all sections. So if you look in reading, for example, 40 questions and 35 minutes. If you remember in SAT, there were 52 questions and 65 minutes, a little bit over minute per question. Where ACT has a little bit less than 1 per question in even reading, science, and math, they just have 1 minute per question. SAT has slightly more than 1 minute per question. English, they both have less than 1 minute per question, but ACT is even more time stringent. So that is one main difference between SAT and ACT. ACT is generally a little bit more time constrained compared to SAT. Now, if your child is very good with time management and always finishes on time, maybe there is a relative advantage in taking ACT, because compared to other students, if your child always manages time well in the tests, ACT probably is better. If your child tends to run out of time or time challenges, probably SAT is a little bit better. That is one main difference. The second difference is SAT questions are known to be a little bit more critical thinking in nature, meaning they're not necessarily the questions like the one that are there in at their school. But they still follow a particular pattern. That's where in our courses, for example, we give a lot of practice with the kind of question that will come in actual test, because a big part of SAT, or even both of them, is being familiar with what kind of questions come. Right? Even if you do very well at school, if you get a good grade, sometimes the same student may not do well in SAT or SAT, not because they don't know the subject, just because they're not used to the types of questions. So that is more so in SAT compared to ACT. So that's why SAT is actually, they say, even more coachable, because with a little bit of coaching, you can actually improve the score far better in SAT, because it follows a particular pattern, which is not a school type. ACT also has such things, but SAT has even more so. So those are the two main differences between SAT and ACT. Did I address your question?
Yes, Ram. Thank you. Thank you. That is quite helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Another question that often comes along with in the same lines is, how many times can we take SAT or ACT, or should we take both? So that is another one that comes. So let's talk about, should we take both or one, because that's the more related question. So several students take both to see which one is where do they score better. So at the end, it's completely all right, because you can determine which scores go to college. So when you go to college board and after your test is completed, you can tell which scores. So one, you can take both, and two, you can take multiple times. Now, I wouldn't recommend taking too many times. Uh, so first, if your child wants to take one of SAT and one of ACT, that is, I think, totally all right. Don't do it at the same time, because there are differences, because you do need to prepare for at least a couple of months intensive before taking the test. So maybe give it at least a 2 to 3 months difference. Even more is better, but if you want to take one of each, that's totally all right, to get a feel for it. After that, make a decision which one you want to pursue more. Let's say one of them you got really good score, and you know what is your goal, and you got that score, you don't need to ever take again. But let's say you want to improve get a better and get a better score. At that time, I would recommend decide with one. So you can take any of them 2 to 3 times. In fact, technically you can take any number of times, but I would recommend not more than 2 or 3 times in any one of them. The reason is, if you take more than that, you kind of lose seriousness, and usually the score doesn't go too much up if you do more than 3 times. 2 or 3 times is absolutely fine. Twice is very common, right? Even if you get a good score, maybe you can score a little better. The second time is better. Second time you can always try. Uh, and third is okay, especially if you started early, because you can take any time in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade. You can take any time. Technically, you can take in 12th grade as well, but that's avoidable, because you'll start applying for the college in the fall semester of the senior year. In fact, if you want to apply for early decision or early action, you will not have time to take it during the senior year. So latest you want to finish by the end of 11th grade, during the 11th grade or the summer after 11th grade. So that when you're applying for colleges, you're focused on the applications and not worried about taking SAT or ACT at that time.
Ram, one question I have. Is there something like a pre-ACT, like we have for SAT, like PSAT?
Yeah, there is one, Arun, but it is not as popular. So I haven't seen many schools administering it. So the PSAT or PACT are actually to be administered by schools. I believe some schools in the country administer. I heard once or twice, but I haven't seen it in most schools. Whereas PSAT is administered by almost every single high school.
Yeah. Arushi went through the Southford side, so she did take in the October time frame.
Yeah, okay.
Ram, I have a question. So, if I understand correctly, a student can take these tests as many times as they can, but it is advisable not to take too many times, right?
Right.
Is part one of my question.
Yeah.
Is that a true statement, Ram?
That's right. Yeah, I think 2 to 3 times is probably optimal. 2 is very common, and 3 is okay.
So 2 to 3 times is from 9th to 12th, right? Eh,
I would say 9th to 11th, end of 11th.
Yeah, sorry, 9th to 11th, 2 to 3 times is. Another question I have is the scores. For example, in one test, the student might score, say, perfect score in math, but not in English. And the next one, the perfect score went down on math, but his goal was to improve ELA or English, reading and writing. So is it like the best of the both? The best score from the first test in math and best score in ELA from the second test? Is it best of the two?
Yeah, good question. So it varies from college to college. So
Okay.
every single college takes the best of this course. So when you take multiple times, there is no penalty for scoring less the next time. So if you got a better score overall in the previous one, they would take the highest of this total score. Some colleges take what is known as a super score. Super score is the one what we are describing. If you got better score in math in one test and better score in English in a different test, they take the higher of the two. And that is called super score. But that is up to the college. So if you go to college, each of the universities admission pages, they will actually specify whether they accept super score or not.
I
So,
see.
yeah, so it depends on the college. I would say don't count too much on it because no, you're applying for multiple colleges. But at least while taking the SAT, don't count on it because you want to maximize the overall score, do better in both. But if it does happen, and if you're applying for a college that takes super score, then yeah, they will take best of the two.
Right. So typically for the IVs, how does it work, Ram? Do they approve the super scores or do they go with combined best?
Most colleges go with the combined best.
I see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
most colleges super score is less common, but ACT actually did not have a concept of super score in the past. They introduced, I believe, last year. SAT always had a super score concept, but it is up to the college on whether they want to take it or not. So most go with the combined total.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ram.
You're
I
welcome.
just needed some clarity there. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other questions?
Hello, Ram.
Yes. May I know speaking?
Yeah, this is Naren.
Hi, Naren.
In SAT, yeah, this is Naren. My child is Pranav and 10th grade. In SAT, ACT, science, what is it covered actually? Like science portion?
Yeah, good question. So the science part of ACT can cover any of the sciences. It can be physical sciences, life sciences, or earth sciences. But generally, it is not testing so much of the knowledge of the science. It is testing more of the interpretation of scientific information. So they either give a passage or a table or a graph or a chart or a combination, and you would need to comprehend that information, answer questions related to it. So they're not testing, otherwise science is vast, right? So it can come from anywhere. It will take forever to cover the whole subject area. So they don't really test. Obviously, knowing the science, the particular topic will help do well because you know the topic. Because if you're doing a completely foreign topic, you might run out of time or not do as well. So being good at science certainly helps. At the same time, it is not testing the knowledge of subject. It is testing more the interpretation or your ability uh, to comprehend the given information and make sense out of it.
Okay. One more question. My child is in 10th grade. When is the best time to write SAT? Like before you start for applying the colleges?
Yeah, so the last attempt should be by the end of 11th grade. So many students take one during the 10th grade. There's some who take at the end of the 9th grade too. But your child is in 10th grade. I would say probably one attempt sometime either. So if he hasn't started any practice yet, I would say probably plan for June 2021. Because if he's taking any AP courses, those tests typically will be in early May. So by mid-May or so, most AP exams will be completed, right? So they can start practice now because it requires at least 3-4 months or 3 to 5 months of preparation without too much pressure. But right before the test, maybe a few weeks or a month of more intensive preparation. So June will be a good time to take first time. And depending on the score, then you can plan next year when he can take for 11th grade.
So the last is the end of 11th grade. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Recommended
Okay,
last. So I mean, you can technically take in 12th grade, but that'll be too much pressure. Because then you may not be able to apply for certain early decision, early action kind of. So your choices will be less if you have to take it in the team.
When does it start actually? College applications, early thing usually, like beginning of 12th grade or
beginning of
late
12th grade,
12th?
yeah. Beginning of 12th grade, typically the early decision, early action happens. By December, all the applications usually go in. There might be a few that go into first or second week of January, but the early decision and early action, even by December or some as early as late November, you might start receiving even the acceptance for early
Okay.
decision, early action. Regular ones usually can go until December, applying application until end of December, and decisions might come in the spring of following year.
Okay. How frequently they are conducted, this SAT exam and ACT? How frequently in a year?
They're conducted multiple times a year. So for SAT, the next test that is coming up is in March. There's one on March 13th. There is one on May. Forgot the date. It is May 11th or something. And there's one on.
So every other month, is that right?
Yes, sometimes every month, sometimes every other month. So probably about nine times or so a year. I think 8 to 10 times a year.
Okay.
So for SAT, there's one coming up on March, one in May, one in June. The May one is probably a bad timing because that will be right in the middle of AP exams for most students, especially for high school students. So most of our students take either March or June. Being a 10th grader, especially if he hasn't started a practice, probably our June is better. For ACT upcoming ones, there's one coming up in April. There's one, and then there's one in June.
Okay. Thanks, Ram.
You're welcome. So there's a question in the chat on validity of the score for how many years. The score is valid throughout the high school. So any time you take the test between 9th to 12th grade, it counts. Anything that you take in before 9th grade does not count. If you took an 8th or 7th grade for Duke Tape or Johns Hopkins CTFI, those do not count for college admission. But anything that you take during the high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that will count. Any other questions?
So Ram, I sometimes heard about these subject SATs. I don't know anything about them. Do you have some bandwidth to discuss some details around that?
Sure, yeah. So the subject SATs are basically, so they're again conducted by College Board in each of the major subjects, in math, physics, chemistry, across all subject areas. And again, certain colleges, for the college admission, in addition to SAT and ACT, they would, they might require, depending on the major again, they might require certain subject SATs. So for example, if you want to go from the STEM area, they might require a math and one of the sciences. If you're going in arts, they might require an English or something else. So each college for certain majors, they will tell again on their admission website uh, which subject SATs are required. They're also sometimes called as SAT 2. And if your uh, child is taking, and if you need help, we we don't do as many courses like SAT, because SATs and ACT are very common. But either subject SATs or AP courses, if you need any help, we do offer one-on-one courses in those. But that again varies from the student to student, or which colleges they want to apply and which majors they want to apply. Depending on that, they would need to take a few subject SATs. They're typically not as hard if they're taking a respect to AP course, for example, right? They probably will be okay with SAT subject test. They may not require like an extensive separate preparation if they're doing well at school on that subject. But if they're taking a challenging one, they might need a little bit help. Uh, so yeah, depending on which kind of majors they're looking at, it's good to take a few subject SATs or SAT 2.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ram. Subject SAT also, are they for 800s? What is the total score for subject SATs?
I think it is scored differently. I don't remember offhand.
Okay.
Yeah,
No
I can check, and if you can just email me or text me, I can get you that.
Yeah,
Let
I
me.
have one last question, Ram. When
Mhm.
you talk about these AP courses, right?
Uh-huh.
The student, ninth grader, if they take AP chemistry or something, if they are successfully doing that, do you think they would be ready for subject SAT on that? I mean, chemistry,
Yeah,
or the AP courses they will take in ninth for the same subject, in 10th for the same subject, or um,
yeah, they can. Typically, the AP subjects are actually harder than the subject SATs. Um, the syllabus could be slightly different. Obviously, College Board gives exactly what topics are covered in each subject SAT. But yeah, for the most part, they should be able to. Obviously, they have to look at the topics and make sure they're covered. Uh, but yeah, they should be good with if they're taking a respect to AP subject. And there's not often a one-on-one match between AP and the subject SAT. For example, in math, the subject SAT just said SAT subject math. There is one. But if you take AP, there are multiple APs. There is calculus AB, calculus BC, statistics, right? So the AP is much more deeper, and
mhm.
and hence more. Sometimes there are more subjects as well. But for some of like physics, chemistry, biology, there is one. There could be more close one-to-one match.
Got it. Got it.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome.
Ram, I also have a few questions regarding this APs and the subject test. If you have enough
Sure, go
time,
ahead. Yeah.
can I? Yeah. So what I have known from my knowledge is like I want to know like how much is the AP score and the SAT score and the APs and the subject test are influencing the college admission. Like you say they get a good score in SAT, but the student has not done enough APs. Will it affect the admission process?
Yeah, good question. So the college admission process again. So if you look at in India, when we went for applied for any college, right, or
Yes.
any engineering or medicine or whichever you want to become an accountant, it is often very clear. You have an entrance exam, and if you get a
Uh-huh.
certain score, and you either get the admission or not get the admission, right?
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
it is much more complex. There is no one criteria. There are multiple criteria, and
Yeah.
so as you said, SAT or ACT is one. The
Mm-hmm.
second one, the grades probably are even more important. High school grade, make sure that they maintain consistency of the grades throughout the 4 years, but also what they call the rigor of the curriculum courses that they selected. So that is where AP courses or honors courses come. So if uh, if they take more APs and get good grades, so there is a balance. You don't want to take too many APs and not being able to get good grades, right? because AP courses are definitely harder than regular courses. So if you get a good number of AP courses and a good score grades in that, that is definitely a big factor. Then you have SAT and ACT. Then there are other factors like extracurricular activities, leadership, uh, recommendations, good recommendation from some teachers, and probably an equally important one. Sometimes, especially for highly competitive colleges where you got a very good score and everything else, or if there's two students who got equally good scores, a big factor in determination is the personal essay. So the students have to write a personal essay in the college admission, and the essay can make a big difference. Now that is more qualitative, but it also again requires good written communication skills that you cannot build overnight. So that is another thing. Often we know the importance of math very well. We don't pay as much attention to English, especially the writing. That makes a huge difference in terms of how well they can write the essay. That's why, especially for younger students, those who got parents who got younger students, I highly recommend build English skills early on. Communication makes a huge difference both for college admission, but also career. We all know those who can communicate well, obviously do very, very well. So, to answer your question, unfortunately, there is no scientific formula. So it is there are college admission officers who look at all of these and they make decisions. So one student got a great grades, but not so good in SAT or ACT scores that they may be still accepted. Another student got slightly lesser grade in some subjects, but they got higher score in SAT, ACT, or got a good essay or a good recommendation, they might be accepted. So it's a balance. They look at all of them together. So there is no single formula. There's not even a clear weightage. Obviously, you want to do all well in all of them, but at least if you know that, let's say in one particular subject in 9th or 10th grade you got lower grade, you can't go and change that. Obviously, you want to continue to get grades later, but if you got a better SAT or ACT, that might slightly compensate for it, right? So because it is a subject to decision at the end of the day. I know it would be easier if we know there is a formula and exactly how much weightage is there. Unfortunately, there is no such formula. I know it's not the perfect answer, but that is the reality.
Ram,
Hello.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. No. Sorry, Ram. Something got stuck with my device. I think I was not able to hear, and I connected again. That's okay, but that's okay. I'm fine. I think just when I asked the question, after that it got.
That's okay, Sunita. So I'm going to, if you already gave the email,
Yeah.
I'm going to share the recording as well as the presentation.
Yeah. No problem.
Or
Yes.
if
Sure.
any of you have any other questions, I just shared my phone number as well as mine and Sridevi is our student success manager, both of our emails. You can email us or text us. Usually text is better than call.
Okay.
But we can call as well, but just text me first and then call. We can, any of that applies to any of you have any further questions.
Okay. And
Ram, I just have one last question. So do you have few minutes to share about your program, say for the SAT, ACT? Typically, in what grade they enroll in your program, and what's the frequency of the classes, or some benefits
In
that
fact, yeah, that is exactly, in fact, my next part of my presentation. So
Okay.
I'm done with the most of general information about SAT. I'm just covering one final topic on the pandemic, the SAT and ACT during the pandemic, what is the impact, and then I will talk about our courses. So, so what has changed with the pandemic? You might have heard some of the colleges, obviously, SAT got cancelled, SAT and ACT. I said SAT, but it applies to ACT as well. Some of those tests got cancelled in 2020, but by now mostly they are restored. But sometimes in the last minute, if there is a school, particular school has an impact, right, the center may be cancelled. Sometimes right now, then nothing is cancelled in advance, but sometimes they cancel in the last minute. So I've seen it happening at certain places. It is becoming lesser and lesser because they're maintaining the social distance, maintaining masks and all that. They will have fewer students in a classroom to take the test. So they're managing better, but I think most tests are restored now. Last year it was like last spring and summer, it was like, no, it was very hard for the students. And some universities, because of that, made the test optional. Now that's a little bit confusing again. Optional means they're saying it's not required, they're saying it's optional. So if the two students got everything else same, one student did not write, another student did write and got a really good score. Again, these are human decisions, right? It's not a, there's no formula. So they might consider. But also, only a few colleges made it optional. Not all colleges made it optional. So that made it a little bit more complex. Especially University of California system was the first one to announce that, and their reason is different. They have been planning earlier itself to do this because they want to conduct their own test, because there's also it's a big money operation for both College Board and University of California system. There's a battle going on because there's about 200,000 students who take SAT or ACT every year from California, and University of California system want to keep their money themselves instead of going to College Board, so they want to do their own tests. But from a student viewpoint, SAT or ACT, what is the relevance when it is optional, right? Some colleges still require, and many scholarships are also based on these test scores, SAT or ACT test scores. So as of now, there's at least you don't need to take two tests. Once the University of California system introduces its own test in future, right? If you also want to apply for any of them, you may have to take two tests. Fortunately, that's not the case right now. So any questions? Otherwise, I know many of you want to know about the courses. That's what I'm going to talk next few slides. Okay, so here I quickly listed all the courses that we cover, but I'll spend more time on, obviously, except after this slide, I'll talk more all about SAT and ACT and PSAT. Apart from that, we offer a number of other courses. In math, we have Math Genius and Math Core. Typically, like first to 10th grade. In English, we have a reading and writing course, Language Genius CLA. We have a Language Genius Public Speaking, which is for public speaking and debate, oral communication. We have a spelling course and vocab course, Science Genius, coding, and all these we offer in small groups, but we can also do one-on-one coaching, personalized coaching in any subject. And one-on-one coaching, typically more high school students taking AP courses, honors courses, or any specific courses, they typically require more in a tuition format. So that's more common for one-on-one coaching. So what is our methodology for covering this? So we cover all subject areas and concepts, either in SAT or ACT. If you attend the course, in case of SAT, math, reading, writing, essay, we cover everything. We cover essay as well. Similarly, in ACT, we cover science as well. Sorry, the last bullet point came first. That wasn't planned, but my animation didn't go in order. We also cover all the test strategies. So it's equally important to understand and practice how to apply those strategies. So we do that throughout the course. We do a lot of practice. We use some with full tests. We give full test practice that have to take outside the class, obviously. and then it is discussed in the next class. Sometimes we give certain homeworks in certain topics so that they get stronger in that particular topic. Um, yeah, sometimes we give full test, sometimes we give certain sections, sometimes we certain homework that we prepare on individual topics. All classes are live interactive on Zoom. We keep class sizes small, 6 to 7 students to get focused attention. Although these are group classes, these are small group and with no focused individual attention. So who are our coaches? So we have been doing this for since 2011. So 9 years, in fact, we'll be finishing 10 years by this summer. And we tried all kind of coaches. I found personally that the best coaches for the test prep, for many other subjects as well, but especially for test prep, SAT or ACT test prep, are those who took the test themselves as part of their high school in this country, and they got perfect scores in during their when they took it in high school, but also uh, have been coaching other students over years, and got a good appreciation and good communication skills and passion for passing on to other students. So often they are typically those who are doing undergrad right now because it's still fresh in their mind. They took it a few years back and they coaching, and typically we take the like the top 0.5 to 1% of the undergrad. So from prestigious institutions, those do themselves got perfect scores in SAT or ACT, but also good in other subjects, understand how all the whole college admission process works. So as part of the class, we encourage students to interact with them to understand not just SAT or ACT, but also any academic advisory kind of questions. We keep it interactive, and all of them are coaching other students over the years. We go through several layers of intensive filtering and take the best of the best, not just in terms of the subject and qualification, but also their motivation, right? And most importantly, the ability to emotionally connect with the students. I found that typically the high school students are much more connecting better with the with those who went through their own path same path a few years back. So those are our kind of coaches. I work closely with them. I mentor them, and we review the methodology. And Sridevi, who's our student success manager, keeps in touch with the parents as well as the teachers, and we take frequent feedback. And uh, we are here to make a difference. This is not just a business for us. This is what we're passionate about. So we once your students join, we recommend that keep in touch with Sridevi, me. Obviously, the student will keep in touch with the teacher to have a full closed loop interactions and make sure it makes a difference to the student. By the way, for those of you who joined later, if you want this presentation or the recording, I think most of you already gave, but those who joined late, in the chat, select my name, Ram or Maths Academy, and enter your email address, name, and your child's name and grade, and email the presentation as well as a link to the recording after the session is over. So Lohit, you're from outside USA. Yeah, the process is still pretty much same, Lohit, for if you're outside USA. But can you email or text me after this so that we can discuss your specific situation, so that I don't need to hold up everybody else. But the process is pretty much similar, but yeah, we can talk the details. So Sometimes we get this. We have you had a younger student, an elementary or middle school student. What can I do to make sure that when they reach the high school, they're prepared, right? Both for high school, do well in high school as well as college admission, and for career, right? The number one thing I would say is build a solid foundation in math, English, and science. Math and English, especially, and those who want to go in the science curriculum, a lot of students do in science as well. This will help in many different aspects. Obviously, it will help with SAT or ACT because these are the subjects that are covered in SAT and ACT. It will help with AP subjects. It will help in any other subject because you got to be today, whichever career you go to, even if you go to like when we were going, I was going through my college back in India, right? You have MPC or BIPC for 11th and 12th grades. The assumption is that you are either doing math related or biology related. But today, if you look at biology, those who are going to, for example, medicine, right? It's full of math. Genetics is full of math. Neuroscience is full of math. Or any career that you do. So math is becoming increasingly more important irrespective of what you do. What is data science? What is artificial intelligence? It's all the core math. Those who understand math and appreciate it obviously will do better in their careers. And obviously they will do better in SAT and AP courses, etc. Same English communication is extremely important. Obviously, English being the primary communication for schools, colleges, and in this country, and for career. Uh, Communication is important, and uh, I think even if a student goes to something else, having an appreciation for science helps. So build a solid foundation. If you have an elementary or middle school student, I think if you do that, when they go to high school, SAT or ACT should be really a cakewalk at that time. Uh, for those of you who got younger students, we do have courses for them in math. We have got a Math Genius, Language Genius, and Science Genius. They give a great foundation for young students. So this probably may be my last slide, or maybe there's one more. Schedules and fees. So for SAT, we have one course that is actually for anybody. If any one of your kids are taking in March, if you already registered for March test, we have a batch that is starting next week. That's 8 weeks course because there's only 8 more weeks before March test. It'll be 3 times a week and 2 hours per session, so a total of 48 hours. There's also one starting in end of January in ACT for the April ACT test. So if any of your children have registered for ACT April, we have one starting. And then in June, they're both SAT and ACT. And so if you haven't registered yet, probably that is a better date. June is a better one. And those one will do twice a week for 12 weeks because we have more time. And so can prepare with a little bit more time. But they're all 48 hours of live interactive classes. Outside of that, they would do several full tests as well as some certain sections of the test and certain homework, our own homework that we give. And all the material we provide all the material required for both. And the course fee for all any of each of the SAT RAC courses is $1,080, which comes to for our 48 hours is about $22.5 per hour. That's excluding the material. That is, material is already included into that price. We deliberately kept it very competitive, low. It doesn't mean low quality. We pay very close attention. We are not like one of those big box, tuition centers. We care about what we do and we pay attention. We take your feedback as it goes on and make adjustments as necessary. But we kept it low to just make it more accessible. So there are a couple of questions that came in the chat. Um, the so the PSAT 8-9, yeah, some of them are cancelled. If you're looking for Duke, so Duke Tip, Sunil, as actually because of the pandemic, they cancelled a lot of these programs now. But look at Johns Hopkins CTY; they are continuing. So I think they offer a different test. Look at Johns Hopkins CTY. I don't remember offhand, Sunil. So if you check for Johns Hopkins, they also accept another test called SCAT. You can do that as well if you're looking for specifically Johns Hopkins CTY.
No, my daughter is already there. She's already enrolled in CTY programs.
Okay.
Through
So
their
what is your
SCAT.
question?
So through their SCAT test, she was already enrolled when she was in 3rd grade.
Okay.
Now I was checking if she can do PSAT 8-9 through them, because that's the only way she can do, or through Duke Tip.
Yeah.
But Duke they canceled, so I know only CTY can do it.
Yeah, CTY is the only option at this time because.
Yeah. So through them I approached and signed up for this test. But the one that is there in Jan and February got canceled. I was trying to see when is the next one. Basically, I didn't find it on their website. Just checking if you know.
So PSAT 8-9 is less often. So I don't remember offhand when is the next one. But typically, if you already registered for Johns Hopkins CTY, they would send a message if this is cancelled. Or you can put. So they have a customer service email. You can probably email them. But I don't remember offhand because they have multiple tests. Maybe they're just doing the other test right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So Duke Tip, because of the pandemic, they canceled it.
Hey Ram,
Yes.
I have a son 6th grade, so I'm not aware of this Duke or John Hopkins. What are these for? I mean, is that the PSAT score is going to help them?
So see, conceptually, the Duke Tip or Johns Hopkins CTY is basically what they call are called talent identification programs for students who are doing well above their grade level and doing very well, are talented kids. They have the kids take the test, above grade tests, depending on the grade, SAT, ACT, or PSAT, or Johns Hopkins also has a few other tests. They can take the test, and based on the test score, they give them additional opportunities.
Okay, is that any state-specific requirement or
No.
any?
No, it's not state specific. That is anybody from anywhere in the country can take that one.
Okay, so 6th graders can also give the PSAT and apply
Correct.
for.
Correct. Yeah. So
Thank
just in the interest of time, sorry, is this Naren? Who is this?
I'm Bimal.
Bimal. Okay. Yeah. If you can just email or text me, we can discuss offhand. This is already 3 p.m. EST. So,
Thank you.
any last question before we close? But yeah, Bimal, please do text or email me.
Sure, I'll do that. Thanks, Ram.
Ram, I have one last question, Ram.
Go ahead, Sunita.
Yeah. So regarding these APs and this thing only. So suppose if a child wants to enter into computer science engineering, so do you suggest that taking an AP computer science course in 11th grade will definitely affect, or it's okay if she really gets the good score in SAT and other subjects, that is enough? Or should we like encourage her to take computer science, AP computer science in 11th grade, because the school is not offering that? Okay, the school is not giving the AP computer science course in the school, so we have to go to something, some VHS or something, and take it. So what do you suggest?
Yeah, if she is really keen on going computer science, I think it is a good idea. So for admission purpose, it is not mandatory. So you can still, if you get everything else, you can still get admission, because especially if the school is not offering.
Okay,
So they will not,
I
the
understand.
college will not hold it against her. At the same time, if she is very interested in that subject because she wants to go have a career in that, is interested,
Uh-huh.
AP, you can still directly apply for AP. and write and take. So does she already have some introduction to computer science? Sorry, did she learn any languages or anything so far?
No. She didn't learn anything so far. She's just doing a computer club in the school. But
Okay.
I that's what I was thinking. Like if she will take a computer science course, AP computer science for next year, will it be helpful to get into computer science, or that is enough? She's like an above average student.
See, I think it'll be helpful if she did. It's
Mm,
not doing it doesn't automatically mean that
mm,
she can't get into computer science.
okay.
It's not an absolute requirement, but if
Mm,
that is the major that she wants to pursue, I think it does make sense to take it.
okay.
And
And
it is totally possible to take. In fact, we have many
uh-huh.
students like that where the school doesn't offer a particular AP and they want to take. We provide
Yeah.
that kind of coaching.
Yeah. I got it. I understood. And one last thing. So these APs like AP microeconomics, AP psychology, and AP human geography, the subjects where you can do the self-study and like
Mhm.
take the tests in May and all. Like in this May, they have some
Yeah.
tests of the. So will these tests? I heard that the credits vary for the subjects. Like if you do something in math or science or computer science, it has more credit, and something if you do in psychology, statistics, microeconomics, and human geography, these are graded a little bit low. So does that make any difference, or any AP courses the student does count for college admission?
So the multiple factors into it. See, the original
Mm,
purpose of AP courses is actually
mm-hmm.
not for grades or college admission, but it was actually for college credits. So what
Okay.
happens is the high school students do AP
Mm,
courses. Certain colleges, again, and for certain majors, they will take specific AP course credits. So it's not if you took 10 AP courses, it is not guaranteed that every college will accept all 10 for college credits. So
okay.
there's a difference between admission and credit. So you might
Okay.
get admission at a particular college, but not
Mm,
all your AP colleges may not count toward the credit. So in this country, to complete a
mm-hmm.
degree, right? In India, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you were to do engineering, you do 4 years.
Yes.
Here, there is no such thing. You have to complete
Mm-hmm.
the number of credits. You can finish it in 4 years, you can finish it in 3 years, or you
3 years
can finish
also.
it in 5 years. It's up to you, right?
Correct. Uh-huh.
So you by getting the credits during high school, it is much
Mm,
cheaper because you're not in college. 1 year of it, 1 year college is anywhere between $40,000 to $80,000 in this country, right?
correct. Correct.
Whereas if you took more credit during the high school and if you finish 1 year ahead, you're
Uh-huh.
you're not only saving 1 year of
Uh-huh.
your career, but you're also saving a lot of money, right?
So definitely. So then definitely taking an AP computer science course will definitely give some credits to the students when they enter into the college, and definitely decrease the time span of the course, right?
Yeah, that's why if it is related to that major, it is more likely to that credit will be
Okay.
counted. So some
Okay.
colleges may not take, uh,
Uh-huh.
like now if she's going to computer science, the
Hmm.
psychology AP that she took may not give her credits, right?
May not give her credits.
Yeah, but it's again, it's very, it varies from college to college, major to major. But it is if it is related to the major, it is more likely to count.
Okay. But I heard like in the first year of their college, they have the social sciences and humanity courses where they definitely have to take one social science and one humanity. So they in that area, the psychology and the microeconomics or the human geography might count for at least 3 credits or something or
Yeah,
so.
correct. Yeah, it
So
depends on the college.
okay,
So
it depends
some
upon.
colleges count they count certain APs, but they don't count certain APs. But there are
Mm-hmm,
some
mm-hmm,
which are like if you are going to STEM and if you have a
mm-hmm,
STEM related AP, it is most
mm-hmm.
likely will count. Others,
Okay,
it's not guaranteed. It depends. It vary from college to college.
okay. Understood. I understood. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Very.
if she's going to go take a computer science major and she got
Mm-hmm,
AP computer science, most likely
mm-hmm.
that will count because it's related.
So are we is Mathus Academy also offering the AP Computer Science the help like I know the students like they get into VHS for AP Computer Science because the school doesn't offer it. They just enroll in the VHS, so they give all the study material and everything, and they prepare you for the AP. So in the same way, does Mathus Academy also give the coaching for the
Yeah, we
AP
give
Computer?
we give coaching for any AP subjects.
Okay.
Obviously, you still need to apply, go to college board and apply directly.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know that. Yeah, yeah.
when it is offered at a school, right? Typically registered through the school.
Yes, yes,
If
yes.
that it is not offered at school, you need to go to college board website and directly apply. But yeah, we provide the coaching.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ram. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any last question before we close? If not, it's great talking to you. I really enjoyed. Hope you did too. And
Yeah, thank you so much, Ram. It was like a good session for parents to like an overview of what what is what. It's like always confusing until the student gets into the college. It's always a confusion for the parent.
I know.
It was good. It was good actually
Thank you,
to
Ram. It
get
was
into
really
that.
helpful. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Ram. It was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, you can email or text me. Or if you're looking for the course, can again text me. Either Sridevi or I will help place your kids in the appropriate ones.
Thank you very much, Ram. Really appreciate your time.
Welcome.
Quite helpful. Thank you.
Good to know that. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.